So 2311 just made a huge change for NASCAR star Bubba Wallace. Will he be able to be more competitive now? We're going to talk about that as well as Takuma Sato and where he may be going in the 2022 IndyCar Series. New details have come to light, and I want to shed a little bit of what I've heard about Takuma Sato's future. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, Bubba Wallace has a major change on his crew. Mike Wheeler has been moved to Director of Competition for 2311 Racing, and taking his place as the crew chief of the team is Booty Barker, who you may remember from some of those old Speed Channel shows. But the question is, can Bubba Wallace be more competitive with this combination? And I think most NASCAR observers would tell you that Bubba Wallace has definitely, I mean, I don't want to necessarily say underperformed, because you look at it, a brand new team, this was always going to be a little bit difficult to get it off the ground. But at the same time, there were very, very high expectations put on this program. I mean, I feel like I'm going all the way back in time to 2020, where we were talking about when Michael Jordan's coming in and they're getting Joe Gibbs support. But I think if you look at a lot of the teams that have had Joe Gibbs support in the past, even the ones that ultimately went on to win championships like Furniture Row, it took them a few years to get there. So, I mean, I don't really think they're doing much worse than the teams that have had this deal before, but I also would think that they're a lot more closely aligned, or they're at least, I would say they're getting probably the equivalent of what Furniture Row was when they went on that championship run from Joe Gibbs Racing. Considering the Denny Hamlin connection, you would expect that this would be an absolutely front-running team all the time. And certainly, anytime you hear Michael Jordan, one of the team owners, the expectation is to win, and they are not winning. But if you look at next year, you look ahead to next year, I should say, with the addition of Kurt Busch to that team, partnering with Bubba Wallace, I think they're in a much better position. This change with Booty Barker is very interesting. Booty Barker, highly respected. Again, I've always said that Booty Barker should have been, or should be in the broadcasting booth, because he's really entertaining, a really good kind of Larry Mack style crew chief, got a great personality. But we're going to have to see what he can do with Bubba Wallace. It's, with all crew chiefs and driver, or crew chief and driver interactions in racing, or, chief mechanic, or whatever you want to call it, it's all about that chemistry. So if Barker and Bubba speak the same language, get along great, I think the performance will increase. The difficulty, of course, again, is that you're making this change not even in the middle of the season. You're making it right before the end of the season. So I almost feel like, in some ways, 2311's blowing things up because for whatever reason it's not working, and restructuring a bit for the major change for everybody coming next year, which is the next-gen cars, and expanding to 2 cars at least for next year. So, I mean, again, the expectations on Bubba Wallace, obviously, were going to be high, but I do feel they're a bit unfair. I think that for the most part, he has really done quite well. I was at the race where he probably had his best performance, which was at Daytona with a second place. Drove an extremely smart race, and honestly, I went into that race kind of going, ooh, I'm a little bit worried he's going to go to space, because, in the first few, I guess you can't call them restrictor plate races anymore, but the super speedway races, he would just block, throw really big blocks. They obviously have a really good super speedway car, but he drove an extremely patient race in that race, and I think you can see, if you're watching closely enough, Bubba Wallace developing as a racing driver. Will he be team leader next year? Probably not. I think Kurt Busch is probably going to outperform him. I think a lot of people are expecting that. But I think what Kurt Busch is going to do for Bubba Wallace is give him an idea of what he needs to do, or what he may need to change to be a front-running driver, to be a team leader at 2311 going forward. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Booty Barker taking over for Bubba Wallace. I love reading the comments. It's always, you guys are so smart. And the second thing I want to talk about today is that making the rounds today, and I think it was started yesterday with motorsport.com, is that it sounds like Takuma Sato may be heading to Dale Coyne Racing. And so the silly season gets sillier. So we do know, obviously, you guys all let me know, because boy, oh boy, it aged badly, that Alex Albon is away in Formula One. He said, holding this microphone, in fact, that his goal was Formula One, and an opportunity opened up, and that was at the Williams team. But what that did do was also open up an opportunity for another driver to fill the Dale Coyne racing slot. Now, Takuma Sato, why did he leave Rahal? I do know the answer to this now. Again, it's not like I contacted Takuma Sato or Panasonic to confirm this, but the paddock buzz is Takuma Sato left Rahal Letterman Lanigan because his budget was significantly thinner for next year. And the reason for that is that Panasonic, as far as I know, has left Takuma Sato. So essentially, Honda is completely footing the bill for whatever Takuma Sato is going to be doing next year. And that has been the question for IndyCar team owners. And it's like, well, okay, what do we do with him? You know, back at the Indianapolis GP, the rumor was that Sato would be possibly moved to the Meyer-Shank team for the Indy 500 only. Now that there's a seat open and available full-time on a full-time basis, and obviously it's a team that Honda has helped out quite a bit in the past to put their drivers in. I mean, I think about Alex Palou as a great example. Sebastian Bourdais, Santino Ferrucci have all been kind of helped, I think, a little bit by Honda. And certainly Takuma Sato will be helped significantly, or is obviously helped significantly by Honda. So for Sato, and they still haven't signed him yet. That's the other thing, too, is I think a lot of people need to realize is that this is not signed, sealed, and delivered. There are a lot of other drivers with funding that could go into that seat, but I think Dale would be very smart to get Takuma Sato because, quite frankly, Takuma Sato has driven probably one of his most smart seasons ever in IndyCar. How many times has he crashed? I know he's run into some people. St. Pete was a glaring example of that. He was attacking the Andretti Autosport valve stems quite heavily, but I think Takuma Sato's driven an extremely smart season. He's won 2 Indy 500s, and we know the Indianapolis 500 is a race that, A, Dale Coyne Racing can be very fast at, and B, Takuma Sato usually delivers for his new teams at that race. You think about Andretti Autosport, that was the first year he drove for them. First year he drives for Andretti Autosport, wins the race. Goes back to Rahal, takes him a couple years, he wins the race again for them. Dale Coyne Racing? I don't know. I think it's a gamble you might want to take if you're Dale Coyne, especially for a year, and especially if Honda's going to foot the bill. Now, will they have to find extra sponsorship? How much sponsorship would, say, a Rick Ware bring to that team? Everybody's kind of talking about how it seems like, and again, this was kind of a logical conclusion to, the Vassar Sullivan question mark, was that it sounded like they were shopping around their wares, but I didn't know where else they would go. Turns out, sounds like, kind of, again, what I figured, is that they'll stay with Coyne. Kyle Kirkwood will be the driver, as I understand it right now. So potentially you're looking at a Kyle Kirkwood, young, hungry lion, and Takuma Sato at Dale Coyne Racing for next year in the IndyCar Series. And I think that is going to be, honestly, one of Dale Coyne's strongest driver lineups in quite some time. And I think it'll be kind of exciting in a lot of ways. It's kind of like an Andretti Autosport sort of deal, isn't it? Because you've got a former Andretti Autosport driver who's won races for them, like Takuma Sato, paired with a former Andretti Autosport Indy Lights driver. So this will be fun. The IndyCar Silly season, it seemed like it was winding down there for a second, and then we keep getting more curveballs thrown at us. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know down in the comment section below, and subscribe for more motorsport content. We'll see you in the next video.